Welcome to the Florida Citizens Alliance podcast with your hosts, Rick Stevens and Keith Flaw.
Welcome back to the Florida Citizens Alliance podcast. We are here to help you find solutions that will help your students learn. That is our singular focus. Anybody can complain about a problem. We want to identify problems and then come up with solutions that will help your students learn, because we really believe in our students. They are the brightest kids around, and we want to give them every opportunity to learn. I'm Pastor Rick Stevens with the Florida Citizens Alliance, and I'm joined by my co-host, Keith Flaw. Welcome, Keith.
Good afternoon, Pastor Rick.
This is a great podcast. This is one of our favorite subjects, I guess because it's such a powerful tool to help our students and to solve a serious problem in Florida. A lot of us are aware that bullying has been an enormous challenge for schools, not just in Florida, but really around the country. But in Florida, we're aware that of the reported cases, we're hearing that more than 50,000 students are subject to what we generally call bullying. And we are so glad to be able to share with you a solution that the state of Florida has provided. I have to tell you up front, it sounds too good to be true, but it really is true. And we want to help you. If your student finds themselves in a situation that is untenable, that is dangerous, where they are uncomfortable, or you as their parents are uncomfortable, this scholarship opportunity could very well be your solution to that problem. So let's just recap a little bit about what's going on and what we need to do as parents to help our students in these situations. Now, usually we talk about bullying, and that's kind of a catch-all word for a lot of things. But under Florida law, what this Hope Scholarship addresses, what the law sometimes refers to as bullying, or that we generally refer to as bullying, includes incidents of battery, harassment, hazing, yes, bullying, kidnapping, physical attack, robbery, sexual offenses, harassment, assault, battery, threat or intimidation, or fighting. Now, that's a long list of terrible things, and we hope no student is subject to any of that. But please understand, when we say bullying, that's the word that we use and is commonly used to include all of those things. So if your student is subject to any of that I've just talked about, that automatically makes that student, that boy, that girl, eligible for a Hope Scholarship. And we want to help you understand what qualifies and how to take the right steps to help your student.
If I can jump in, Pastor Rick, there's a couple of thoughts there that I'd like to really drive home. Number one, most people think about bullying as student-on-student bullying. This law is very expansive. Again, it's a law. It's signed into law and it's been enacted. It's actually bullying, intimidation, threat, and all of those things that Pastor Rick just mentioned, but on any person on school property or in a school-related function who intimidates or threatens or harasses and all of the other things Pastor Rick just mentioned, the student and the parent involved are eligible for the Hope Scholarship. And this is really huge. So when you think about it, if you've got teachers, it's not just student on student, it's anyone in the school system that's involved in an incident like this with a child.
And the seriousness of the incident is not something that you need to measure as a parent. If it affects your child and you are concerned about it, it qualifies. So we want to encourage people to step up and not step back on that. Now, a little bit about the process, and we'll include a link to the Department of Education website that gives you more information about the Hope Scholarship. It's really quite simple, but we want you to be able to see for yourself what we're talking about here. But there's a memo on that website that the Department of Education sent to the school superintendents about what they're expected to do to administer this program. And it's very clear that they have specific responsibilities, and you as a parent should expect the school to live up to those responsibilities. It's quite simple. You go in and report to the principal that this happened to your student, and they should give you a Hope notification form. There's a link to that on the Department of Education website as well that you'll see. It's a very simple form to fill out. It is not complicated. I know sometimes all of us are a little intimidated. Everywhere we go, they want us to fill out a form. Well, this is very simple, very straightforward. You can do this. It's available in English and in Spanish, so there's no reason for anybody to be intimidated by it. Fill out the form, hand it to the principal. You have done the first step of what you need to do. The principal then has a couple of weeks to try to solve that problem to your satisfaction. And you may have a specific action that you want the school to take to solve the problem. And you can talk to the principal about that, and you can tell them, this is what I want you to do for my student to have a safe environment free of bullying. Don't hesitate to tell them that. Let them know your expectations. This is a good way to partner with the principal. Maybe the principal needs your support to get something done. So don't hesitate. They may be looking for someone like you to come alongside them and be empowered to do this and help them accomplish something they've been trying to accomplish. So let them know your expectations. They will investigate things, not to decide whether you're telling the truth or not to decide whether the incident merits the scholarship. They have to investigate, because if it's serious enough, they're required to report it to the Department of Education. So let them do their investigation. They should get back to you within a couple of weeks to let you know the resolution that they've come up with. If you are not satisfied, you have then the option of either moving your student to another public school, or you can enroll them in an approved private school, and the state will pay that with a scholarship. So it's a very powerful thing.
Pastor Rick, let me quote from the letter you referenced from Chancellor Oliva to drive home the point, and it's a fairly short quote. Please note that the law does not require substantiation in order for the district to notify the parent of the program. And any district that is adding this requirement is in violation of the statute and administrative rule and will be dealt with according to the law. So Pastor Rick said it at the very beginning. It may seem that this is too good to be true, but what it really does is it turns all the power back to the victim, back to the child and the parent of that child. You can write down your complaint, file the form. They have to respond to you. And if they don't respond to your satisfaction, then you have the financial leverage to take your child to a private school of your choice. Now, you may not choose to do that, but we're going to talk about a couple of examples here in a minute, and you'll see that it really does shift the power equation away from the status quo and back to the parents.
And we should also add that if you as a parent are still a little bit concerned after you look at the website and you hear us talk about it, about what to do or how to go about it, please reach out to us. Contact us by email, info@goflca.com. That's info@goflca.com. We'll be glad to walk you through the process to help you understand, to help you know that you really are right to expect these things. And if you still have trouble, let us know again. We will talk to the Department of Education and see what we can do to help make the process work for you. The law was specifically written to work for parents so that our children do not have to go to school feeling intimidated or scared by a bully, afraid they're going to be harassed in some way, have their lunch money stolen, whatever the case might be. We want to be there to help students and to help you have the best opportunity. So let's talk about a few applications of the Hope Scholarship. Every now and then we see something that actually comes out in the press, and we wonder what's going on and why somebody isn't communicating to the parents that are involved that this is a Hope Scholarship opportunity. So let's talk about a couple of things that we heard in our neck of the woods. We hear about more of those things in Southwest Florida, but there was a recent incident at a Naples elementary school where a teacher was discovered to have been molesting students. That teacher was taken out of the classroom, faces 23 charges of molesting children, some of them as young as 6 years old. During the time he was at school, he's been fired from the school. He's in the Naples jail pending trial. But the parents are a little upset because they don't feel like the school has kept them informed. And when you saw that, Keith, your immediate response was?
Hope Scholarship.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because here's the parents that are feeling left out. They're wondering what's happening at school. Are their children really safe? They just don't know. The school hasn't communicated with them. And I can understand that. If I was them, I'd be concerned too. So what should these parents do, Keith?
Well, the first thing the 20 parents or 23 parents involved should do is go in and actually insist on filling out and filing the incident report on the state form. Because the day they do that, they now have the leverage to insist on what they want out of the equation. And if the 23 of them work together, they become a pretty powerful group to get accomplished what they think they need to do to protect their children. So That's the first order. As you reported, Pastor Rick, and some people may think this is a stretch, but when you think about the fact that the whole community in that school is upset because they're not being informed about what's going on, they feel their kids are not in a safe learning environment, and they're concerned about the threat, the unknown threat. In reality, each of those parents also would qualify. If they went in and just filed the report, they would become eligible. Now the whole school has the leverage over the school district to get the school district to respond to their concerns. And if the school district doesn't, then they can choose to exercise their eligibility to go to a private school of their own choosing or another public school. Now, the difference there is if you decide to go to another public school with your child, then you get a travel voucher or a stipend to pay for travel expenses to the other school. But if you decide to send your child to a private school that's qualified, then you can get up to about an $8,000 scholarship to send your child to that private school. And the school district loses that funding, so it gives them a real incentive to listen to the parents for the first time rather than defend kind of the status quo as we've seen all too often.
And one of the things that caught my eye when I saw that news report was a father talking about how he didn't say it, the news article didn't report it this way, but you can see it all over what he was quoted as saying, that he just felt powerless in all of this. He didn't know what was going on, and he didn't know what to do, and there was anything he could do. So let me tell you how the report quoted him. Quote, "We are a community that does not have a strong economic power. When things happen, we can't just grab our kids and take them somewhere else." And that's heartbreaking. They feel trapped by a system that's not serving them well. They're afraid of what might happen to their kids. But what I saw when I read that quote was, he doesn't know he does have economic power. He does have access to a scholarship from the state of Florida to rescue his children from an environment that he's concerned about. And we want to help get the word out to people to let them know this really is available to the parents and to the students, because no student should have to go to school in an environment that they feel threatened by, where they're harassed, where someone is bullying them in any way. So that's just one example of the power of that scholarship. And we hope if you know somebody that's going through this, let them know, because this is a really strong statement by the state of Florida to help our parents and to help our students.
Let me give you another example here in Collier County, and I go to about 60% of the school board meetings, and I was at one on September 10th, literally to talk about the Hope Scholarship. And during public comment, there were a group of moms there, and this one mom who was a spokesman for the group got up, and on the Friday before the school board meeting, this group had submitted a letter to the school board members, and I'm kind of paraphrasing what the complaint was, but there's a school here in Collier County, high school football team, that the players on that football team have been targeting players on their opposing teams and then bragging about taking them out with serious injury. And they document this. We actually now did a public records request to get the letter so we can see exactly what the complaint was. But the thing that struck me is these moms were there, and I'm going to overstate this maybe a little bit, but they were begging the school board to take action because the principal and the coach, in their view, were actually endorsing this. Every one of those parents now has the economic leverage to demand changes or exercise their eligibility under the Hope Scholarship. But all they have to do is go file the form, right? It's that simple. So that's two examples just here locally. And one of the things we're going into these examples on, because we're asking all of you listeners, you're going to hear about these kinds of incidents because they're fairly frequent. We had 53,000 of them that were actually reported and an unknown number that weren't. So this is happening throughout the state. And so what we're looking for you to do is to find these examples and let's run them up the flagpole. Let's help parents understand that they really do have some serious leverage as a victim here.
That's exactly right. This is a great opportunity for parents to work with the school and solve a problem. And if you can't get it solved, you can put your child in a safe environment where they can get the help, the education that they need. There was also a little bit of information came out of Broward County that got our attention, where a bunch of people went to the school board meeting and were concerned. But beyond that, the school board was taking a look at and saying, hey, we're 1,800 fewer students. What's going on? And the parents cited several things that were contributing to them pulling their kids out of traditional public schools. things like the lack of individual instruction, safety, bullying concerns, mediocre school grades, poor discipline. Amazing list of things. What got your attention out of that article, Keith? I know what got mine.
Well, obviously the word bullying, and also, you know, when you think about this, and some people may think this is a bit of a stretch, but with what's happened in Parkland here and some of the underlying issues there are a lot of parents concerned about the safety of their children and the ability for those children to get a quality learning experience without being in an environment that doesn't support their learning. And so what caught my attention was, if you're really concerned about your child as being in a threat situation that you're not comfortable with, you really have an opportunity to use this Hope Scholarship to help improve that situation.
Absolutely true. What caught my eye was, here was this list that referred to parents' concerns, and then a couple paragraphs down, it talked about how the school board was reviewing possible fixes, and they didn't address, at least in the article, by the way the article was reported, not a single one of the things that were listed by the parents. So we want to remind parents that this Hope Scholarship opportunity, this solution to bullying, really is for you, because the school may not realize what's really going on. They may be thinking of other things. We don't know what they're thinking about, but we know what you're thinking about, and you're thinking about your students, and you want them to go to an environment where they can flourish, where they have a great teacher, where they have a great bunch of students in their class, where they can make friends, and where they can learn the things that they need to learn so that they can have the skills they need going forward. This is another example of how the state's Hope Scholarship opportunity really does work.
The other thing there, Pastor Rick, that caught my eye was the discussion in the school board workshop that you're talking about charter schools. The concern is that, they've lost 1,800 students year over year, and it's the first year, reading the article, it's the first year in 9 years they've had a downturn in the establishment schools. So that caught their eye. But half of those 1,800 are going to charter schools. And so part of the discussion, which I found fascinating, part of the discussion amongst school board members was, we have to be really careful that we fix this problem, because if we have dwindling enrollment in some of these schools, we may have to close some of those schools. And if we have to close them, then they become eligible for a takeover by a charter school.
Yeah, I found that amusing too.
That was hilarious.
It really is. And the other thing down later in the article, and I'm sure this got your attention as well, the article says the district has 21,543 empty seats, and 90% of those empty seats are in schools rated C, D, or F. So you would think the school district would get the idea, we need to improve our schools. We need to solve the real problems that parents are concerned about. And yet, according to the article, it didn't seem like that their attention was focused in the right direction. Our whole point in all of these examples is to say to parents everywhere, all across Florida, we hope your students do not encounter a difficulty at school. We hope they never face an incident of intimidation or harassment. We hope from the moment they arrive at the bus stop, if they ride the bus, we hope on the bus ride to school, we hope all day at school, we hope in every school-related or school-sponsored activity, they have the very best experience possible. But if they have a problem in any of those places, at the school bus stop, riding on the bus to school, at school, or at a school-related or school-sponsored activity, anything that the law calls bullying, you need to act to protect them and to put a stop to that bad behavior. And we hope this helps you understand how that might apply to your student and your situation. It really is too good to be true, except that it's true. It's kind of amazing. We see government trying to solve problems and not doing a very good job in some areas. But here is one thing, one gift to our parents and our students that can really make a difference for a child in their life. So we hope you will investigate this. If your child runs into a problem, we hope you will take this opportunity to solve that problem for your students. We really want every student to have a first-class experience in our schools. Well, thanks again for listening to the Florida Citizens Alliance. We get a little fired up about some of these things, and like you, we have a heart for our children. We want them to do well. We want to protect them from the threats that are around them. We want to give them real solutions to learn. So anything we can do to help that, we're going to work on doing that. If we can help you with the Hope Scholarship, please reach out to us. info@goflca.com, info@goflca.com. We'll help you know what you can do to take advantage of the Hope Scholarship opportunity to solve your child's problem or to transfer them to a private school with the scholarship opportunity. Because we really do want every student to have the best opportunity to succeed. See, that's part of the solutions that we look for and we want to let you know about, because every student deserves a better education, and the better education they have, the better foundation they have for learning and for life. And so we want to help because our Florida kids deserve better. Thanks again for listening. Anytime we can help, reach out to us. In the meantime, you have a great week with your students.
Subscribe to the podcast today on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Thanks for listening to the Florida Citizens Alliance podcast.